Okay, girl, let's talk spinal cord injuries. Okay, so there's two different types of spinal cord injuries. There's primary, which is from like shearing, compression, or traction, and secondary, which is basically like think if you have like some kind of thing that leads to like a disease state that leads to edema, ischemia, cytotoxicity, which is basically when um, the neurons are like firing too much, inflammation, oxidative damage. So think of like reactive oxidative species like mitochondrial dysfunction, which leads to necrosis and apoptosis activation. So oxidative damage is when you have like reactive oxygen species because there's mitochondrial damage. And that was like the chapter 2 stuff. So basically, um, this is when like the spinal cord like can get damaged either through like a fraction and it like impacts, like it shears, like there can be a shearing of the actual spinal cord, compression like when it's getting squeezed. Okay, so basically spinal cord injury can lead to a couple of different things. I think I'm understanding this. So the biggest thing it leads to is like spinal shock, which can last for 2 or 3 days. And this looks like the cessation of motor, sensory, and reflex and autonomic function. But depending on like the motor, like if if you've like paraplegia, like it depends on where the injury happened, where the lesion is, like which thoracic or cervical or, wow, I'm getting tired, sorry. So the shock and what's being affected is dependent on the location of the injury, basically. It can also, spinal cord injury can lead to neurogenic shock, but neurogenic shock occurs from a loss of sympathetic nerve activity. So the things that make your heart beat, the thing that, makes you breathe. So symptoms are going to look like vasodilation, hypotension, bradycardia, and loss of temperature control. So neurogenic shock is going to occur only above thoracic vertebrae T6. So it could be in your cervical, which is like your neck, or it could be in your upper thoracic area. Neurogenic shock happens in the acute phase of a spinal cord injury. So this is going to happen probably within the first, 24, 48 hours, you're going to have neurogenic shock. Autonomic hyperreflexia is part of the chronic phase of a spinal cord injury. So longer than 2 to 3 days. This is going to be the acute phase. This is going to be longer. Like chronic usually means like 6 weeks or more. I don't know if that's true. I know 6 weeks or more is like chronic pain. I don't know if that, because it takes 2 to 3 weeks for nerve control to start to come back. So I think maybe this could be like a 2 to 3 week period. I don't have enough information on that. So autonomic hyperreflexia is an emergency situation. It happens at thoracic vertebra 6 or above, and symptoms are going to be severe hypertension, headache, and sweating. This requires emergency situation. Basically it's like, your autonomic nervous system's just going crazy. It's like almost the opposite of neurogenic shock. So this is kind of the overview of like spinal cord injury. Okay, I hope this helps.